Hey guys, we are going to work together to get started on your essay. I'm going to close the camera on me in a minute, so you are just going to hear my voice. But remember, please make sure that you're following along. You're not going to copy exactly what I'm copying, but I am going to give you hints on how to write your introduction and lead into your body paragraph, okay? All right, so as we continue along, we want to remember that we are focusing on our prompt. Our prompt, of course, is what are some obstacles to adjusting to life in a new country? Each body paragraph is going to address one obstacle, one problem that people have when they come to the new country, when they come here to America. First thing we want to do is we want to start with a hook. Remember, a hook can ask a question, it can paint a picture, it can give a personal anecdote or a story, or it can start with a statistic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a statistic. I did a little research. So my hook is going to start according to the article from I'll say according to an article, let's say that. According to an article from the Migration Policy Institute, here's my quote, more than 44.7 million immigrants lived in the United in 2018. Okay, so this is starting with a statistic. Remember, you can start with a statistic, ask a question, paint a picture, bring in a personal story. If you want to start with a question or an imagine if statement, we can do imagine how difficult it would be to move new. All right, this is imagine statement. I guess I don't want to do this. All right, so here I gave you, oops, maybe if I learn how to spell. All right, so remember, if you have a personal narrative that you want to put in instead, remember, if you look at and you are an immigrant or your family is an immigrant and you want to bring in personal information, this is the only time in an informative essay where you are able to use a personal pronoun I. So when you choose your hook, make sure that you are bringing your audience into the essay. So I gave you two examples of a hook. Which hook do you like? You want to formulate something, remember to bring your audience in. For the background information, you want to talk a little bit about why people might come to the United States. Why are they leaving their countries? Here's another place that you could put in a statistic. If you wanted to start with your imagine if statement here, you could say imagine how difficult it would be to move to a new country where you may not know anyone or speak the language. And then down here, you can begin your background information with a statistic. What I want to do here in my background information is I want to talk about people every year choose to come to the United States leaving their lives in their former country All right, so the question is why? All right, those All right, so again, we're just giving a little bit of background information. We want probably about 2 to 3 sentences of background information. You want to talk about immigration, why people choose to immigrate to the United States, why would they choose to leave behind their country, their friends, their family, and come to the United States. Your thesis statement. Remember with the thesis statement, it is the most specific part of your essay. It tells the reader what they are going to read. And the thesis statement needs to, once again, address the prompt. So remember, the prompt is, what are some obstacles to adjusting to life in a new country? As we write our thesis, we say, although people who Although people who emigrate to the United States are often hoping to find a better life, there are several obstacles that those all right. All right, so although people who emigrate to the United States, immigrate to the United States are often hoping to find a better life, there are several obstacles that those individuals may face. All right, so here we are going to have our intro paragraph. We are going to start with some sort of hook. Remember, we want to bring that audience in. Start with a personal anecdote, a story, a statistic, a shocking fact, an imagine if statement, something that's going to draw that reader in without giving too much away. Remember, the most important, most specific part of our introduction is going to be the thesis statement. As we work down that inverted triangle, we bring in background information explaining how and why people may choose to come to the United States. And then again, our thesis statement needs to incorporate that prompt. Saying that there are obstacles. And then remember, each body paragraph is going to be an obstacle. As we move on to our first introduction, the first thing we want to do, remember, we are writing purl. Every body paragraph is a purl. So when we start our purl, we start with our point. Our point here is going to be our topic sentence, our first reason. So we can start by using a transition. The first obstacle that immigrants may face is trouble with the language. All right, I want you guys to use language as your first obstacle. So your first body paragraph is going to be all about problems with the language. And we know that when we read My Favorite Chaperone and A Place to Call Home, we pulled out text evidence that shows that there was a problem with the language. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to think about the evidence that you are going to put in to support that there is language. I want you to go back into your T-charts, back into your graphic organizers. Are you choosing from My Favorite Chaperone, or are you choosing from A Place to Call Home? You need your text evidence here. Just pull out that text evidence. Underneath, you're going to explain why is that important. Down here, another piece of text evidence. You may choose to bring in something from a place to call home, or another piece of evidence from My Favorite Chaperone. And lastly, you're going to link it. You want to link it back. So I want you to try this on your own. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to revisit this. And then I will revisit working with the first body paragraph before we go into our second point. Please make sure that you do your best and you are pulling in text evidence and explaining that evidence. Remember, with your evidence, with your analysis, it should be 2 sentences. 2 sentences.